we're supposed to be, this is week 2, and we are focusing on functions, lambda, and then some small object-oriented programming. But let me go over the basics once again. So I'm using Kotlin Playground. I understand most of you have some small exposure to programming, so I'll go by that rule, and then if you have any concern, you can ask question along the line. Okay, so this an IDE, but it's an online IDE for experimenting with the Kotlin programming language. So it's called Kotlin Playground. So you can just Google search Kotlin Playground. Yeah, then you select the first link. So it will open a text editor, online text editor for you, where this is where you write your code. So when you open it the first time, you'll be greeted with this snippet of code. So this is where you write your workspace. This is where you write your code, and then when you are done, you can run it from this button, this run button at the corner here. Okay, so you can see this is the place for results. When you run, this is where you see your results, or error codes as well will be displayed here. You can also switch between the versions of Kotlin, and then we have the compiler. So we have the compiler where you can write Kotlin code and then convert it to some of this compiler. So we have JavaScript, WebAssembly, JUnit. This for testing. I don't know about Canvas. I don't know. And then we have Switch. So you can also write code here and port it to Swift programming language. And then with this share and then copy and then share. So you can copy the link and then share. I can also share the code. So when I share the code with you, whatever I do here, you have exact copy at your end. So I'm copying the link and I'll drop in the chat section. So if you open it, all the code I'm going to write here will be updated on your site live. Okay. So I'm closing this one and I'm coming back to this. So if you open your thing, you'll see this code. So this is just a normal function in Kotlin. And then, so to write a function, we use the fun keyword, and then the name of the function, the open and close bracket, and then the body, or what will be executed when you call the function, will be placed within this curly bracket. Okay, so this is the body of the function. This is the body of the function. Let me see if I... Okay. So this is the body of the function, and this is just a function call. So this is an inbuilt function in Kotlin that prints message to the console. So this is how we call a function. You call the function by specifying the name of the function and then the open and close bracket. If the function takes an argument, you pass it through. So this one takes a string as an argument, so it was passed through. So if we run this program, you see the results out here. Hello world. Okay. So this is a required function. Anytime you create a Kotlin program, you have to specify this function and then perform your operation within this open and close bracket, because it's an entry point to Kotlin program. I think other programming languages have it like that, Java, and then C++. So if you had an exposure with those language, you know what I'm talking about. So this is how we write a comment in Kotlin. So this multi-line comments or multiple line comments, it spans multiple line. To write a single line comment, you use the double backslash to say main function. So this a single line comment, but multiple line comment, you use the backslash, the star, and then you close it by another backslash. So backslash star, then you close it by another backslash. These are just the middle ones are not actually the thing. The main thing is yeah. So this is a backslash star and then star backslash to make a comment. Okay, excuse me. Okay. So this is how we make a comment. This is single line comment. Okay. So let's talk about variables. So variables are like labels you give to data. Anytime you mention something like variable, think about data. You are just giving a name to data that you can use to call that data in several sections of the code. So it's a label we give to a data. So to create a variable in Kotlin, we have two ways. The first way is using var, and then the second one is the val. So the difference is that the var is mutable. Mutable means you can change it. If you declare the name for it, you can store a value, a data in it. Later you can update that data. And then the val, these ones are like constants. When you create the label for the data, you can't change the data, it remains the same. So these are the two ways to create variables. So let's see some example. So we have, so when you come to data, because Kotlin is a statically typed language, statically typed means that anytime you want to create a variable, you have to specify the data type of the variable. You know, we have different kind of data in normal life. Like we have audio file, we have a video, we have pictures, different kind of data. But in programming, for example, we have text. So if it's a text data, we usually say strings, and we have numbers. So in Kotlin, let me state some for you for data types. So for data type, when it comes to text, we have a data type called string. So this is for text. And then when it comes to numbers, we have a data type called int. So pay attention to the starting of the letters. They are capital letters. So it starts with capital letter. So pay attention to that. This one, int. Then we have double. And then we have float. Yeah, I think there's long as well. There's long. So this is for text. This is for numbers. I think these are the ones we often use. We have like single character, which is car. That's CHR. This is for single character. And we have different variety of these ints. We have like big int, small int. So these are the ones we use on a daily basis. So these are the data types. So to create a variable in Kotlin, you first have to specify the data type. So for example, age. And then so you use the var keyword. We are declaring a variable that we can update the value later. So var keyword, and then you use the var keyword, the name of the variable, and then you put a column, and then the data type. Since an age is like a number, we'll use an int. So int is for positive and negative whole numbers. Int is, yes, go back. Sorry guys. So int is for positive and negative whole numbers. And then the double and the float handle decimal point, and the long is for bigger values of int. Okay, So you specify the keyword var, the name, and then column between the data type, and then you give it an initial value. Let's say I was just born. So this is it. So I can print the value of the age to the screen like this. Running. Okay, so you can see the output 0 at the bottom here. Okay, I think let me put a message to make it longer. Okay, so this introduces something. So we have something called string template. String template. So a string template is a string that allows you to inject value into strings. So as you can see from here, we have the message my age is, and then I brought a dollar sign, and then I pass the variable I created into the string. So anytime this line is executed, the age value will be injected into this part of the string. So this is string interpolation or string template. So let's say, so since it's a var keyword, I can update that value to a different value. So to update the value, you don't have to use the var keyword. You only use the age, the variable name, and then you assign new variable of 30. Okay, so when we run it, our message will be 30 now. Okay, so my age is 30. Okay, so over here we see some small warning here, and it says when you hover over it, it says redundant explicit type. Initializer is redundant. So what all that message is trying to say is that there's a feature in Kotlin called type inference. So I shared the link. Let me share it once again. I shared a link to this code. If whatever I'm typing here, you can just refresh your page and you have it there, so you can also run it. So I'm sharing it again. So you can just refresh, you get whatever I'm doing here on that side. So there's a feature called type inference. Okay, so with this type inference, it's a feature that allows Kotlin to determine the data type of your variable based on the value you assign to the variable. So since you create this variable and you assign a number to it, Kotlin can determine that this is an integer. So you don't need to specify this thing explicitly. So that's why it is throwing that warning that redundant type initializer. Yeah. So redundant explicit type. So let's create a new variable, and then we'll leave out the type, and then we'll see whether we'll get an error or not. So we'll create another variable called user name, and it's equal to so let's run it and see if we'll get an error. Hey, sorry, I have to print it because you can't tell. Okay, so you can see my name is Mauli. So it was able to print without any error. Although I didn't specify the type, you can also specify the type. this way. I can specify the type, and when I run it, everything will be fine. But this is explicit typing. Kotlin, so if you hover, you get a thing again. Everything so can be declared as far. Okay. Okay, so we had two messages. This one is long, but below it you can see our old message, that redundant explicit type. When we remove it, that warning will be gone, and we'll have only one error about the val. Okay, so you can see that error is gone. So Kotlin is able to determine the data type based on the value you assign to it. So if you create a variable and you didn't specify the data type, you create a variable and you didn't assign it an initial value, that one Kotlin cannot tell. But as soon as you give it an initial value, Kotlin can determine the data type for you. So that's one cool thing about Kotlin compared to Java and other statically typed language. Okay, so let's talk about the other ways of creating variable, the VAL. So as I said earlier, this is allow you to create something like a constant. So let's say pi. Okay, let's say pi is equal to. Okay, so we have this variable called pi. So let's print it. Oh. So we have the value printed here. All right, so let's try updating this and see what happens. So pi is equal to 2 point. Okay, so I've updated pi. Let's run it and see. Okay, so as you can see, val cannot be reassigned, and when you hover over here, the same message, and you see this text editor is intelligent to tell you the line on which the issue is. Okay, so okay, the initial line is redundant. Okay, so it will tell you the line on which we are having issue. So you can reassign new value to variables created with the VAL. Okay. I think about variable. So any question at this level, I'm moving to a different section. I'm done with variables. If you want to know some, let me know. I think we have a boolean also. So we have boolean, boolean data type. Yeah, Fansu, please a minute. So we have boolean. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, so we have Boolean data type that represent two states, whether true or false. So we use that one a lot when it comes to control flow. That's conditionals, like making decision. Is this value greater than this thing? Is the network available? And all those things. So if you want to test a condition, we use Boolean a lot. So to create a Boolean data type, you can say is online, and we say true. So this is a value for a boolean, so it's either true or false. So as you can see, we use comments a lot. So you can use comments to explain your code or do some documentation down for other developers, even yourself. Like code you write today, and if you work on a lot of projects, by the next month, by the end of the 1 month or 2 months, you begin to lose thought of what the code, like each line is about. So we use comment to explain some part of the code. Okay. So the value for boolean is either true or false. So for boolean, it assumes two states, and the value, the data type for that is boolean. Yeah, oops, it's boolean. So if you want to specify the data type, it is boolean. Okay, so I think let me copy that person. Okay. Okay, so if no question on variables, I'm moving to the next part. Variable. Okay, let me talk about control flow. Control flow. So usually when you run your application, the code runs from top to down. That's the normal in sequential order from top to down. That's the normal way of the way. That's the normal way code run. But you can change that flow so that instead of it running from top to down, you can change it based on the condition. Then you switch the execution to different parts of the code in that order. And this control flow requires comparison operators. So let's look at comparison operators. So comparison operators are, as the name implies, like they compare or test a condition, and then base, if it's true, it returns the value true. If it's false, it returns the value false. So the usual operators we know, like uh, less than, greater than, and we have less than or equal to. We have greater than or equal to, and then we have the not. This one, if it's true, it will make it false. If it's false, it will topple it to true. Um, yeah, less than, greater than. Yeah. So this one, and then okay. So secondly, too, we have this guy. Is it boolean? Okay, so logical operators as well. So we have logical operators. The first one is the n ampersand, and then we have the pipe, and then we have this over there as well. Okay, so this is the usual less than, greater than. So I'll not draw much on it, but as we do an example, you see it in action. And the logical operators, this one you use it to combine more of this stuff. But what you have to know is that at the end of this operations, any operation you perform with these two types of operators, the value has to be true or false. So pay attention. These two things has to return either true or false value, and based on that true or false, you make decision to execute this part of the code or not. So let's see an example of flow control. I think the first one is if statement. So we have if statement. Okay, so to write if statement in Kotlin, you start with an if keyword, your open and close bracket, and then you have your what should execute when the condition is true. So first you put your, so we have a condition, either a condition or a test. So you perform a test, and if the test is true, if it passes, you run this part of the code, and then we have an else part. So whenever it is false, this part of the code will be run. Let me see if it works. It doesn't. Okay. So you can see the way I'm applying both the single line and the multi-line comment. Okay. So let's see example. We are creating a variable of say um okay, which example? Let me see. Let me say it's new. Okay. So I'm checking whether a user is a new user or is being like he or she is on the system. So I'll say false. Okay. So you bring your if statement and then we test is new. Okay, so if it's okay, so I'll call randomly so that someone explain what their output will be. So light Osita. If I run this code, what will be the output? Please, can you see? Okay, let me stop it. Okay, it means is you can see. Okay. Uh, please, can you see the code? Okay, so if I run this part, what will be the output? Okay. Do you all agree with him? I don't know where he's on. I'm sorry. You are okay. User has an account. Anybody with opposite view? Okay. So you said the user has an account. Let's find out. I disagree though. Okay. The user has an account. Okay. This print. Okay, so I intentionally use this function print, and then initially I've been using print ln, but nobody noticed or questioned me about why I changed to use print. So we have two types of print statements in Kotlin. The first one is one with the ln. So this ln means new line. So whenever I print something, it will jump or move the cursor to the next line. So whatever will be printed next will be on the next line. But when you use the one without the ln, it will print continuously like this. So as you can see, after printing the pi statement, when I came to print this part of the statement, it continues from that same line. So we have two types of printing. Okay, so this is the outcome of running this code. So let me put there. So you can either use this, or I can also put this a backslash. Okay, so this thing called, this also moves the cursor to a new line. It's called escape sequence. So you can read more on it. Escape sequence. So we have different types. We have one for tab, a whole lot. So you can read on it. So if you use the inside a string, if you use this backslash n, it will also create a new line. So when I run it again, you see the program will be gone, although I've not used ln. Okay, so okay, the value is false. So as we evaluate it against this condition, it prints the user has an account. So we can also do something like this. We can also create, so we have the variable age. So the age is 30. We can also check if it's, let's say, if you are less than this. Okay, so let's create a new one so that we practice more. So we can also check if age is greater than 75. So if it's greater than 75, we can say print if it's greater than else. So it's just something I'm printing. It doesn't mean anything. But the main thing here is that we are trying to test the operators we talk about here, the comparison operators. Okay. So we'll test whether the age. So the age currently is 30. So we are comparing it against this one. If it's true, so it will check this. If it's true, then it will print this part. But since it is false, the age is 30, which is less than 75, it will print its wall. Okay. So with this, you can check whether the age is 35, and then we have the ampersand. So the two ampersand, where we can check whether it's new. Yeah, so you can use this one to compare to combine more of these comparison as expressions. So it will check this side and check this one, and then for the ampersand, that's the AND operator. For the AND operator, it has to both side has to be true. So this side has to be true. So if I change it to true and I change this also to true, when I run it, it will print you are a legend. Both has to be true. You see, it prints you are a legend. But if this side evaluates one of them is false, it will not work. See, it will print it well. And then if I change all to false, it will also print it well. So for the AND operator, everything has to be true for it to be true. And then we have the pipe, which is OR operator. It is OR operator. So for the OR operator, you just need one to be true. If both is false, you get it well. But when one of them is true, let's change it to true. It will print that one. Let me change this one to false. And then make this one to true. Yeah, you see, it will print. So for the OR operator, it needs just one side to be true to make the whole thing true. And then if you look at this one, the bank, the exclamation sign, the bank, that one we use it to topple it. So this is true. When I put the bank here, it will turn this whole thing to false. So it will be printed. You see, it will be printed. If it's false and I put the bank there, it will change it to true. So it will print legend. You are a legend. Okay, so that's just more example. And all this thing, this is just the basic. Inside this, you can go further. You can go on further to check other if statement here. So this is just the basic. You can do whatever you want to do. If after checking this part and it's true and it enters this block, you still want to check something before you go ahead printing something or performing some action, it is up to you. Yeah, so this is about if statement. If no question, I'll continue with that. Those that are late to the class, I copy the link and paste in the chat session. Okay. So those that are late to the class, I copied a link and paste in a chat session. Is a link to the code I'm writing. So I'm using online text editor. So you can use it, paste it in your browser. You see the code I'm writing live. So I'm pasting it again. Okay. Yeah, Fanso, please go ahead. Yeah, so I said we have the comparison and then logical operators, which I stated them here. The less than, greater than, and then this one, the exclamation. Can you see it? The exclamation. And then there's another one here. So the exclamation, what it does is that it reverses Boolean. So if you have a Boolean which is true, when you bring it in front of the Boolean value, it will change the value to false. If the value is false, it will change the value to 2. Yeah. So that's why this guy is false. It's false. But right now, if it's false, it means that this part is supposed to be executed. But when I put this bank, it's called bank. If I put this bank symbol here, it will turn it to true. So when I run it, instead of this part will be rendered. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, you can see you are a legend. It's rendered. Okay. So I think I'm dwelling more on the basics. There are lots we can cover. We have when expression. So in Kotlin, you let me talk about this, then I'll refer you to more of my channel. I think these basics I've covered most of them on my channel, so you can go through. If you have any question, then you ask, I'll address them. So the class is supposed to be 1 hour. I don't want it to take so much of your time because you have other things to do. Me myself, I'm exhausted. Yeah. So I'm making it 1 hour, and now it's 43 minutes. You guys who don't come to class on time, I use 10 minutes waiting for you. So 10 minutes out of this. Even I didn't start exactly uh, um, 7 o'clock. So you should try and join the class on time so that we can start ASAP. So the basics, I'll refer you there. So we have about 17 minutes to go. So after this expression, I'll switch to today's class, introduce you. Then we'll continue from next week. Okay. So for the we don't have I don't those who wrote other programming language, we don't have a switch statement in Kotlin. Kotlin doesn't have anything called switch, but the idea is the same. It just uses different English or term. It uses when. So we have when statement or when expression. Okay. So in Kotlin 2, okay, let me state this. No, in Kotlin, no one. This thing. One, no switch statement. No switch statement. Two, in Kotlin, if statement is either a statement or expression. So this I think you should check the video. I shouldn't dwell on it, but I've mentioned it, so read more on it or watch my video. But you can actually assign, let's say, message is equal to if. So let's say age which is 30. Is greater than 18 years. So you can do something like this. Else. Okay, so in this block, if it's greater than 18, I'll put here you are an R dot. Otherwise, I'll say two. Okay. So as you can see, I've created a normal if statement, but this is not a statement. This is if expression. So this line actually returns a value. After it executes, this string will be assigned to message, and then I can go on and print message. And let's run it and see. So it is greater than 18, so we are expecting you are an adult. So as you can see, this part has been assigned to this. That's why we don't have ternary operator in Kotlin. We don't have ternary operators in Kotlin. So ternary operator, that's where we have like a condition. Is it like this condition, and then either run A or B? I don't know if you've met this. So this is a ternary operator. So if this condition is true, this part will be executed. If it's false, this part will be executed. And because of the Kotlin if expression, we don't have ternary operators in Kotlin. So if statement can be either a statement or an expression, and then we don't have switch statement. It's being replaced with when, but the idea is the same. I think it's just English they are using. They are saying when this is this, like it reflects the term when reflects what you are actually doing. But the switch, think you not get it right unless you are from the 90s where you know about radio, where we play cassettes and you have to click on some consoles to switch between all those things. Those idea gives you uh, more meaning to what switch means, but using the term when makes it like conditional. You literally know it's a conditional. When this is this, do this. Okay, so we have when statement also in Kotlin that replaces switch. So you can also check a value. Let's say the age variable we have there, and then we have this. Sorry. So you use your when keyword inside of it. Here's where you the value you want to, or the case you want to test against the conditions. So this is it. Then you put whatever you want to execute inside here. So the first case you want to test is, let's say, is the value 40. If it's 40, then we have this arrow symbol, and then whatever you want to, you can print a message or some. I can say you are 40. Okay. So let me copy this and duplicate it. Let's say 3 times. Okay. So if it's 30, it will run you are 30. Otherwise, if it's, let's say, 50, yeah, it will say you are 50. So when we run this, let's see the output. So you see it prints you are 30. So it uses this variable and then compare it against each case. The one that it matches, that then the code body this side will be executed. So this is when statement. So when can also be an expression. So you can create a variable, and then the variable saying, let's see, page check. So you can also make it an expression such that when you run it, instead of printing this, it is not efficient. You can print it, it's not bad, but you can rather return the value into this age check. You can return the value to age check. You return the value when you check, whatever the case may be. This string will be assigned to age check. And then when you are using when as an expression, you have to include a last part called else. So that's the default part. In case it doesn't match any of them, what should be done? Because this is a variable, it can be an empty. It can be empty. You can create a variable without assigning a value to it. So in case it doesn't match these cases, it means that this variable will have unknown value or will not have a value, and if you try to use it, it can throw an error. So let's check it. Age check. So let me comment this part and let's run it and see what will happen. You see, when expression must be exhaustive, add an else branch, and it also tells you where the thing is coming from. So you have to add an else branch. So this is one thing about Kotlin. Although the age is here, is 30, and it matches the case, it is not even allowing you to execute it. That's one thing about Kotlin. It will not allow you to execute it, but it's able to determine that in case it is out of range, like none of these values match, then you will get an error. So it tries to correct that error before you even run the code. But when I enable this part, it will go through. Boom. So we have it here. Okay. But when you are not using it as an expression, that's when you don't have this part. This part is out. Oh, then the else part too is not compulsory. Any question? I'm done with the basics. You can refer to my YouTube channel for more. If no question, I would like to dive into today's topic and then we'll close. Um, yeah, thanks. So, and it's okay. Okay. Is that all? Any more? Any more? Okay. Okay. So, a statement just perform the statement like is equivalent to an action. So, for example, this print h check. So, it's printing whatever value is inside h check. This performing just an action like do this, print this. This is a statement, example of statement. But an expression evaluates. So an expression actually performs something like calculation and then returns a value. So expression evaluates and then returns a value, but expression performs an action. So you see this okay, sure. So this one performs whatever comparison is done and then evaluates and returns this string called you are 30. When you look at the if statement here, if this is if expression, so it works on this part based on the outcome of this test, and then it returns this and assign it to this variable. But when you check the earlier part, it just determines the condition here based on the outcome. It prints something. It doesn't return anything. So it means if statement or if expression returns a value, that's one thing you have to know. Anytime we talk about expression, know that evaluates and returns a value. Okay. 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 Thank. You are welcome. You are welcome. Any other question? Any other question? AC. Sure. Okay. So for the ternary operator, we have it in other programming languages. Um, I think PHP. I write PHP, so let me talk about PHP. Ternary. Ternary operator in PHP. Yeah. So this PHP documentation. Okay. So they are saying here we'll learn about this video where you will learn how to use PHP ternary operator to make shorter and more to make code shorter and more readable. So it's saying the ternary operator is the shorthand of if-else statement. So they are saying instead of writing if and then a condition and then your operation, you can convert this to this. So you check the condition. This is normal if statement, the one we just did. You check. Let me zoom it out a little bit. Okay. So you check your condition and then you perform this. You check your condition. So this, they create a variable. If it is true, you assign the value 1 to result. Otherwise, you assign value 2 to result. You can do the same thing by creating a variable called result and then check, put your condition here, and then you bring a question mark, and then if it's true, the value 1 will be returned and then assigned to result. Otherwise, that's when it's false. Value 2 will be assigned to this. So in PHP, we have two ways. You can either do it like this, or you can use this short form. Yeah. Okay. So this is PHP. I write PHP. That's why I use PHP. If you, I don't know about it on Python, but I know Java has it. I know Java has it, and JavaScript too. Yeah. So you can check on those ones. Yeah. So that makes your code. So see an example. So is user login is equal to false. So if you got user is logging, so this is to check if user is logging, you enable the login logout button. But if it's not logging, you enable the login button for him to log in. So you can convert this if statement to this. So you create the initial value, give it a value of false, and then we are checking if this is true. So you can see they are using boolean. As you can see, it's conditional, so you need to return a boolean. So over here they are checking, so it is false, so it means that login will be login will be assigned to the variable title. So let me clear your mind, this is not Kotlin, it's different programming language, so I'm just showing you where it came from. This is called ternary operator, but in Kotlin we don't have it. We don't do this. We don't have it. We use when if statement. So with if statement, you can return the value. You can return the value and then assign it to this guy. But in PHP, the operation of if statement cannot be assigned to a variable directly. So you can bring like equal to var, maybe result that is user login is equal to this. You can't do it here, but they have two ways of doing this, either this or this. But in Kotlin, you can use your own if statement to do it. Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Yeah, yeah. You have you have to refresh it. Okay, let me share this. So please give me feedback if this one works. Please, does it work? Did it work? Hello. Okay, okay, okay. So today I wanted to talk about functions and then lambda, and I'll talk about classes and then data classes. Okay. So I think I'll only do functions, and then I'll leave the rest for next week because it's now 1 hour 3 minutes. Okay. So we began by looking at function at the beginning of our program. Yeah, and I told you that if you want to create a function, you use the fun keyword, the name of the function, bracket, and then the body, which is lives in this curly bracket. Okay, so functions. So we use function to make to create reusable piece of code. So let's say you have like you are doing writing a lot of code that you realize that in different parts of your code you begin to repeat a certain block of code. You keep repeating those block of code. You can group them and then give it a name. So it's just like another form of variable, but this one they are calling it function. So anytime you find yourself repeating some section of your code often, you can group that part and then give it a name. Doing that, we say you are defining a function, and it makes your code reusable, because and it reduces back as well. When you are when you create a function and those repeating parts, if you want to make a change, you make the change at just one part and it reflects at everywhere. But if you don't do it and your repeating code is spread throughout your code, you have to go through your code one by one or line by line and then make the changes there. But with a function, everything is at one place, so you call it bar. It will be like reflected everywhere. Secondly, you can reuse it, because some code, example, when you create Android application and you want to implement the feature of sharing your application, that feature is one way, like is one. So when you create it in one application, you can push it to your GitHub project. It will be there anytime you need it. You just go and fetch it, come and paste it, create an event listener, and then call that function. You are good to go. So it helps you to really use it, reduce bugs as well. So let's see how to create functions in Kotlin. You use the fun keyword, fun. If you want to start, this is how you inform Kotlin that you want to create a function. So how would Kotlin know that if you do something like this, it's age or it's a variable or it's a function? The only way you can know is this for a variable, this for a function. So we are creating a function called great world. Okay. So to create a function, you use the fun keyword and then the name of the function. And then we also have the brackets here. So these brackets will hold parameters. So we'll get there soon. And then we have the body inside this. So this will just bring hello world. So we are done. So anytime you want to greet the world, you can come to this function and then call it. So to call this function, so this is defining a function. And then this is calling a function. Sorry. So to call a function, you use the name and then the open and close bracket. Yeah, so that's how we call a function. So if I run it, you see the message. Oops. Okay, this guy. Yeah, so you see the message, hello world. Hey, someone is now coming to class or what? Okay. Okay. So to create a function, you use the fun keyword, the name of the function, this open and close brackets, and then the body lives in the curly bracket. So one thing is you can also pass, the function can take parameters. So let's say you want to create a function that will greet based on the time of the day. So you can do something like this, fun, greet user. So based on the time of the day, so we can pass parameters, which is time, I don't know, I'll just pass some random numbers so that we can be able to do our thing. So I'll just pass an integer. Okay, so here we can use an if statement and say, okay, yeah, let me use if statement. Now, okay, if the time of day is equal to blah, 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 blah. Let me say 8. So this is like 8 GMT. So do something like this. Print good morning. Don't mind my typo. And then we'll again say if else, if time of day is 12, this is like 12 p.m. so then we'll print and then the last one is else. So you can see the way I'm combining the if statement with a function. So these are some application of the if statement. Where we'll have evening. Okay, so we are coming to call this function. So when you call this function over here inside the main, so you create the function outside of the main function and then you call it inside the main function. we have greet, what's the name, greet user, so I'm passing. If you pass this and we run it, let's see output. Okay, error expected, time of day, error expecting common. Expected at syntax error unexpected to key. Let me see. Okay, so I think the 0 in front of it is throwing error. Okay, so let's use this as in the morning. So, and then I pass in 12. So it is pretty good afternoon. Okay, yeah. So you can see, so this one is greeting the person based on the time of the distance. So if once I pass in 12 o'clock, so this is how we pass arguments. So these are integers. It's expecting an integer. Yeah, it's expecting an integer because I created a variable called time of day, and I said the type is an integer. So I'm checking if the time of the day is 800. I assume this is 8 o'clock in the morning. Then print good morning. Else, if the time of day is 1200, which is I assume is afternoon, print this. Otherwise, print good evening. So let's pass in a different. So let me comment this, and then pass in different value which doesn't exist. Which user? I'm passing in 1, and let's see. Okay, so it's printing good evening. So this is what's happening. This over here, it checks for exact. Make sure it is exact. Here too, it checks for exact, but this one is else. And else means anything else will be given to this part to execute or print. But if you want to be exact, you can go on and say if it is let's say 1800, that's like in the evening. So in this case, none of the case will be matched. So the boolean was expected. Okay, sorry then, let me stop sharing and share it. Okay. Can you see this? Okay, sorry, I supposed to. Okay, so time of day. Okay, so you see, I just passed the value 18 to it. I didn't do the comparison. You see, true and error, that condition type mismatch. Inferred type is constantly int, but so it met a found int, but a boolean was expected. So when you are using if statement, you're supposed to evaluate or return or use a boolean. At the end of the day, whatever calculation or comparison you are doing, it should end up being either true or false. So you threw that error. So now that I change it and I'm making comparison, if I run it, there will be no error. Yeah, so that's one thing. As you continue to program, you'll be meeting different kind of error, and then you learn how to deal with it. It's not magical. Sorry, my battery is low. Yeah, so as you can see, since none of them matched, because now I'm doing exact comparison, so it will not match because I passed the value 1 and it doesn't match. but before we just used else and it came true. But let's say this is exact value, and we know that for example, the time of the day from the morning, let's say from 6 to 12. How do you specify something like 6 to 12 in Kotlin? So I'll duplicate this function and then use it to explain something called range in Kotlin. So I'll do it create user 2. Okay. So we have something called range. So in this case, I'll use a when expression. So we have something called time of day. So with a when expression, how do you specify 6 to 12 in Kotlin? So to do that, we have something called range. You can do like this, and then 2 dots, and then bring 12. So anything between 6 to 12, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 12, with 6 and 12 included. Okay, let me stop and share. Sorry, I don't know why though. Please, if you can see, let me know. Please, can you see my screen? Okay, okay, welcome. So, okay, so time of day. So range in Kotlin we call this range. So they start like 6 to 12. To specify that the times within that range, you use this. You specify the start of the value, and then you use the period like full stop 2 within it, and then you specify the upper limit, which is 12. So if it's between 6 and 12, I'll keep greeting good morning. So I'll just copy this and bring it here. Good morning. And then I think let me duplicate this 3 times. Oops. Okay. I'll copy this. We have to good evening. So I'm removing the whole if statement. So now I'm not using exact, I'm specifying range. So from 6 to 12, and then from 1 to 1 to let's say 4 o'clock, that's 16 is afternoon, and then from 17 to 23 we say good evening. I hope you are following. So if so you see how I'm applying when statement. I apply if statement, and now I'm using when statement to demonstrate some. So now let me run it and then pass the time of day to this function. Then we'll see different cases. So now it will not be exact for this. When we use this, you realize if you pass like 1, nothing will come. My name is create user 2. So first let's start with that value 1 when we call it found range. Types. Let me see. I think I'll use in I'm coming. Let me just type test. Okay, now I got it. I got it. So I have to use something called in. So okay, so you're supposed to use in. So I'm saying this value in this range. This value in this range. Yeah. So we use one. When we use one over here, when we call the function, we need to get an output. So let me call 7 and see if I'll see good morning on the screen. Yep. So you can see good morning at the bottom here because the time of day, which is 7, is within this range. So let me use 13, let me use 15, and let's see. I'll copy the same thing. Paste 15. So 15, we're supposed to see good morning for this one and then good afternoon for this one. So let's check. Yeah, so as you can see, the 15 is within this range. So I'll allow you to go and test the last condition. So these are some of the things you can do. And I think on function we have so with this function, instead of we printing this, I can make this function sweeter than this, more elegant than this. So let me copy paste and I'll call it greet user 3. So I'll make this function return a string. So to say a function to return a value when it performs the whatever it will do inside the body of the function, to return a value, you can use the colon and then specify the value, the type of value it should return. So pay attention. It is you specify the data type within the bracket, the end of the bracket, and the start of the curly bracket. You put the type here. So if you put the type here, then you have to use the return keyword. So the two works together. You have to bring the return keyword. So I'm going to return this when expression. So instead of printing, I'll just remove the print statement. And whichever case it matches, that string will be returned. So these are some of the magic you can do with Kotlin. So now this function returns when you call this function, it has to return a string. So we are using the return keyword. So I remove the string since the string the print function is just returning the string, the greetings based on the time. I can also return the string directly, so I remove those around it and then I'm returning it. We talk about when expression, so it returns a value. It will return the string and it will return it to the calling function. So let's go and test this. Okay, so inside the main function, sorry, we have greet user 3, and we are passing in 8. So let's see what time will be printed. It must be exhaustive. Okay, so we had the error where I said if you are using it as expression, you need an else to handle the unknown condition. So I think unknown time. So Kotlin will not allow me to run that code. So I use um 8 o'clock. Let me see. Okay, so this is what happens. Since it returns, this value will return. So I need it returns, but it will return it to the calling function. But there's no print statement, so that thing will not be printed onto the screen. So I'll name it greeting. Greeting is equal to. So when this function is called, it will return the value and assign it that value and assign it to the variable greeting. Now I can print the greeting as let me make it a variable of greeting. Okay, so when I run it, it will be like good afternoon, Maoli. So let's try this. So you can see good morning. So I pass 8 o'clock. So it will return good morning, Maoli. So this function is called. It will return the value and assign it to the variable, and I'm using it over here. So we can further make this thing cleaner by making another function called no, this rather. So making another function. So you can go through all this. You can see how we can further refine your function. So function 4, which returns. So there's a feature in Kotlin that when you are returning a single expression, then you can remove the return keyword. So pay attention. You remove the return keyword, and then also remove the body curly brackets. You remove the curly brackets around the body. So I first remove the return keyword. I also come and remove a curly bracket around the body. So when I'm done, then I'll bring equal to, and then so this is enough. You can leave it this way, or you can also remove the type here because it's returning a value, either a string. It is a string. It's returning one of these string. So this string will be assigned to this function, and it will be returned to whoever calls this function in the main function. It will be returned to it. So since it's returning to it, then we'll have this. So now your function becomes this. Okay. So this is your whole function. And I'll call it soon. So see your function compared to the earlier one. So we started from greet the world, and then we use this, and then we convert it to when expression, and then from there we have return type, and we remove the print statement, and then we come here. So this is our final listing. You see how interesting Kotlin is getting. Yeah, so it's 1 minute, 1 hour 30 minutes. I think I'll end it here. So I'll run this code and then I'll open the floor for question. And that'll be all. Let me just copy paste this. Greeting 2. I'm passing 18. So okay, I think this function name is script user 4. So when we run it, we expect, I think Fanso has asked a lot of questions, so he has won the privilege to be naming my code. Yeah. So as you can see, I placed I think 18. Okay, let me see. 18 4. 18 is okay. Yeah, good evening. By sprinting. Okay, so let's do some debugging. 18, 17, 18, 17, 4. Okay, I think I use the same variable greeting instead of making it greeting 2. So it took, it's supposed to be greeting 2, which is this one, greeting 2. So 18. So good evening, fine. So question time, please. Hello. Hello. Any questions? Right, right. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so thank you for your time. And I think next week, yeah, next week, we'll continue with the rest. So we'll talk a little bit about functions. And if you have any questions you can ask, then I'll continue with the classes a little bit, small things about object-oriented programming. Then the following week. So if like it has gone as planned, next week we're supposed to dive into the Android, but because we are a bit late, we'll start it after next week. Yeah. So thank you for your time.